Hi everyone, your President Pat Eastgate here for the President's blog, Meet Your Colleagues. Today I'm introducing Stephen Knight, who is a radiographer at the Lady Salento Children's Hospital in Brisbane. Stephen recently published a paper titled A Paediatric Exposure Chart that was the most accessed paper in our JMRS with over 8,000 accesses. Firstly, Stephen, congratulations on an amazing achievement with your publication. Tell us, what was your driver to undertaking this study?
Royal Children's Hospital, which has recently merged with Lady Salento Children's Hospital, had very good DR exposures. A lot of work had been done on that sort of about 10 years before we got DR. However, when we moved to DR, or direct radiography, we had very inconsistent image quality, and whilst we were expecting to see a dose reduction, we didn't have any dose reduction. So myself and my colleagues thought we can do much better than this, and we basically did an evaluation of the exposure chart based on a literature review, scientific testing, and also image quality review. So it went through quite a few processes, and what we've ended up now is an exposure chart that we think it's not perfect, but it's pretty good.
That's fantastic. Is it fair to say of those 8,000 downloads of your article that about 90% of them were yours?
No, only one of them was mine. No, I'm now trying to get as many people to download it as possible. And when I get to 20,000 downloads, I'll ask for lifetime membership of ASMET.
Fair enough. We'll see what we can do. Tell me, Stephen, what was your biggest challenge to getting this paper published?
So because no one's really tried to publish a whole exposure chart before in a peer-reviewed journal, so what I was trying to do was something that hadn't really been attempted before. So I first attempted to submit this to a UK journal, and it went through one peer review process, and because I wouldn't change the paper to the way they wanted to write it, because it didn't really match what I was trying to do in my objectives, they ended up turning the paper down. So then I submitted it to Journal of Medical Radiation Science, JMRS, and whilst they got me to rewrite the paper quite a few times, they were very, very helpful in telling me, which bits to move where and how to adapt the paper so it read in a scientific paper style. So JMRS team were very, very helpful in getting this published.
Fantastic. Great feedback about the JMRS team giving you that help. Tell me, what piece of advice would you give to one of our young professionals who was willing to have a crack at doing some research and getting published?
So probably the biggest bit of advice is to get a mentor, so someone who can sort of essentially help you write a peer-reviewed paper, so particularly someone who's got something published before. So they should peer review your paper before you submit it, because that will improve it a lot and improve your chances of it actually starting off that peer review process. And also just simple things like checking for spelling mistakes and grammar and stuff like that, because really peer reviewers don't want to be bothering with a lot of that when they're reading that paper. I think two other bits of advice is don't give up. It is a hard slog. It'll go through lots of peer review processes. You sometimes feel like you're going around in circles, but you need to keep going. But then also, I'd recommend people doing research on something that they're passionate about as well, and something that's going to make a difference to the profession.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more on those bits of advice for our young professionals. Stephen's quick rapid fire questions for you before we finish up. What's your social media of choice?
I'm actually not really on much social media. The only social media I'm on is Flickr, which is a bit of an old school photo sharing site, which I'm on quite avidly.
Excellent. Chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla?
I go for all three. I have a Neapolitan.
Very good. And if you were on a deserted island, who would you want to be stuck on there with?
I'd like to be stuck on there with Bear Grylls, because I've probably got a better chance of getting off it alive.
Smart man's answer. Very good. Finally, Stephen, who is your inspiration?
So going back to the paper that I got published, now I think most people, their inspiration is usually someone who's knowledgeable on a subject. But in my case, the inspiration was actually the lack of knowledge on pediatric exposures, and also the fact that digital radiography is actually in general quite poorly understood in the profession. So it was actually the fact that knowledge needed to be improved and we needed to share our knowledge was actually the inspiration behind getting my paper published. But there's also a lot of people through my career as well have helped inspire me, and I particularly need to thank Christopher Hicks for seeing my potential when I first moved to Australia, and also Tom Topfer, who's been my boss for many years now, for my support whilst I've been going through this process of getting this published.
Fantastic. Stephen Knight, thank you for joining me on the Pres blog.
Okay, thank you, Pat.